Hello, everyone. Welcome to AI Edge. My name is Jeff Nelson, and I am the co-founder and chief operating officer of Blavity Inc. And I am your host for today's AI Edge. We have a very exciting session, and I'm going to be playing some double duty. So I'm going to be sharing some screens. I'm going to be introducing people, going to do a little demo. So I'm excited. So we have thousands of people who are joining us live on afrotech.com to watch AI Edge. So I'm really, really excited about that. But before we get into the amazing content that we have a couple of housekeeping rules. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that everybody knows the lay of the land. All right. So let me share my screen and tell you all how we can make sure that we're connected and we participate in today's conversation. So this is me. As I said, I'm Jeff Nelson, the Chief Operating Officer and the co-founder of Blavity and AFROTECH. And we've got a lot of great stuff on the agenda today. And I'm going to come back to this because what I want to talk about first is to make sure that you can be part of the conversation. So we are streaming AI Edge live on afrotech.com, and we are using Afrotech Connect for our conversation. So for our live chat and networking, you can use Afrotech Connect. And the steps to do so are really, really easy. Hopefully you already have the Afrotech Connect app, but if you don't, just go to the App Store. If you're on iOS, go to the App Store or on Google Play and download Afrotech Connect. And then once you're in there, make sure you enter the AI Edge portal, scroll and look for the communities tab, enter that and go into the Q&A community, and then you'll be able to participate in the chat. I am in here now, and this is what I'm going to be looking at. So I'm going to be looking for some action and activity in the chat. So once you have Afrotech Connect downloaded and you're in the chat, make sure you drop a one because that's what we do at Blavity to let everybody know we're excited, we're ready to learn, and we're ready to have a good time. So I'm going to give people a few minutes. I'm going to keep this up. Download Afrotech Connect, enter the AI Edge event, scroll to the communities tab right here, enter the community, and then go ahead and drop a one, introduce yourself. We're going to have some fascinating conversation as well as some networking, and we're going to have a good time. So as people are doing that, I see a couple of people already dropping one. So shout out to the chat. You know, I always wanted to be a streamer, so I think this is my chance right now to say, hey, chat. How we feeling, chat? We having a good time? I'm seeing some ones pop up into the chat. So we are going to have a great time. But as I let you all look at this amazing agenda we have, I want to talk about how we got here. So earlier this year, on a whim, at Blavity and Afrotech, we decided to have what we thought would be a simple webinar. We thought that we would get a couple people together and get some of the leading AI companies and AI builders to talk about AI, just to make sure that everybody could level set on what was new and what was emerging and how they could use AI to be productive. We also did a survey to understand what our community wanted to know. And the response was overwhelmingly positive. We had over 10,000 people tune into the first AI Edge either live or on demand. That is an incredible response. And the thing that we learned is that people are hungry for AI because they know AI is the future, but there's a lot to learn. And AI is changing so quickly that whatever you knew 3 months ago, well, the game is completely changed now. So we're having our second AI Edge, and we're really excited about this lineup here. We have representatives from some great companies. We have Cursor, who's going to be here to talk about the amazing work that their tool does. We have 11 Labs, which I'm really, really excited about because we're users of them at Blavity. And then we also have Ford. And I have to give a special shout out to Ford. AI Edge today is presented by Ford. So shout out to Ford. They are making this possible, and they are going to talk about some amazing work and how they're using AI. I think it's very clear how maybe for some of us who sit on a computer all day, how we may use AI, but to think that AI is helping to build physical products and to build cars is really, really exciting. So we're excited that we have Ford presenting AI Edge today, and they're going to talk about how they're using AI in some cool ways. All right. So Before we get into all that goodness, I have something that I want to share because at the first AI Edge, I sort of gave a preview. I said, hey, I'm building something that I think is really, really cool. And later in the year, I think I'm going to release it. And I'm excited to give you all an update and show you all what I've been up to. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share another set of slides really, really quickly. And just talk about what I've been doing with respect to AI agents. So many of you have probably already heard that this year is the year of AI agents. If you have built an AI agent, drop a 2 in the chat. There have been so many tools that have come up recently to allow people to build AI agents, whether you're using ChatGPT or you're using Zapier or you're using N8N or whatever you're using, there are so many tools that are allowing people to build AI agents, and it's truly transforming how we work. At Blavity and AFROTECH, we're using agentic workflows to make our teams much more efficient. And agents have been a real boon for productivity. I mean, if you think about traditional automation, where you tell the system what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, what an agent allows you to do is just tell it what to do and when to do it, and it can figure out the how. That's been revolutionary. But as revolutionary as this is, and as fascinating as it is, there are still some limitations there. The reality is that today's AI agents are heavily task oriented. And this is what I talked about several months ago. And this is a problem that still exists. And when I talk to enterprises and when I talk to people who are interested in AI, the thing that they tell me is that they want to use it, but they don't want to sit at a computer all day and give AI task by task. They want something that is going to work in the background for them, that can be reliable and that they can trust. And so that's where I've had this idea of creating AI agents that are goal oriented. And so that's where you go from automation and agentic workflows to true autonomy, where you simply only have to tell the agent why it exists. You don't have to tell it what to do and when to do it. It can figure all those things out. And I want to show you what that looks like. So I've built this product called Riff. And Riff is an agent building platform that allows you to build these agents that work for you 24/7 in the background. And you can use Riff to tackle a variety of use cases. Anything from marketing to accounting and finance to coding, whatever you can think of, you can build an adaptive AI agent in Riff. And I want to show you a couple of cool examples. Now, you can see I've been over here getting pretty busy. Some things that I've recently asked it to do. One thing I'm particularly interested in is I like doing stuff like AI Edge. So if I want more AI speaking engagements, I can simply tell my agent in Riff that, hey, give me more speaking engagements for AI conferences. And as you can see, what the AI is going to do, it's going to figure out what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. So if anybody has built an AI agent, you're probably used to those cumbersome builders where you have to tell it, you've got to drag a box from here to here, and you've got to drag an arrow, and you have to type in automations and things like that. It can still feel very cumbersome and clunky. But what all of us have gotten used to when it comes to AI is simply being able to type in a prompt and AI can figure it out. And now with Riff, we're extending that magic to building AI agents that work for you in the background. So let's dive into how this actually works and what's really, really cool about it. So the first thing when we think about agents that work for us in the background, agents where we don't have to tell it when to do, what to do, and how to do it, but we can simply give them a goal, those agents need to understand our business. And that's where in Riff, you can add hundreds of connectors, and these can be connectors for SaaS platforms, or you can connect your own systems and devices to Riff. And what that allows Riff to do is not only allow the agents to interact in those systems, but it allows them to learn from those systems. There are over 100 different connectors that you can add. And even if there isn't an existing connector, You can simply enter your credentials. So for instance, I'm going to enter some credentials here. And you can add that to Riff. And then what actually happens is those credentials are stored securely. They never leave your device. It sort of works like keychain if you use that on your device. And whenever the agent needs to interact with that system, it securely uses your device to connect to that system and perform work on your behalf. In addition to those systems, it understands your business based on something that's called a knowledge graph. So what happens is that anytime you add connectors into Riff, it learns. And it not only learns at that initial point of connection, but it learns in real time. And it learns how your data exists across systems and how there are connections even in different systems. So for instance, if you have a customer in your CRM, but then you also have a customer in Stripe because you're generating revenue, Riff will understand that this is the same record, this is the same entity. And so data about them in the CRM and data about them in Stripe, that data goes together. That data is important. That data is context that is important whenever you're doing an operation on that particular customer. And it's not just limited to systems like that. It's limited to all kinds of systems, all kinds of documents, structured data, unstructured data. Any data that you add into Riff, into this knowledge graph, is updated in real time. And there are a couple of cool features here. So one, as you can see, I've got records here that are informed by a number of different data sources. So information that I'm getting from email, information from my CRM, from Notion, and I can see exactly what data I have on a particular entity. I can search for particular fields. I can do all sorts of filtering based on source or types of data. Anything that I bring into Riff, I have immediate insight into. But I can also see relationships. I have this graph view here where I can very, very easily see the connections in my data. And this is just important. When you have so many different systems and there's disparate data in these systems, and you're trying to understand yourself, the meaning behind all this data, being able to graphically see it here gives you a level of control, but it also gives the AI agents you build additional context. The last point that I'll just make about data is that this data is versioned. So anytime data changes, you can see historical snapshots of the data. And this is important for security. Now, I think AI agents are wonderful, but they can make mistakes. So if a Riff agent ever makes a mistake, you can always go back in time on the knowledge graph and restore data in all of your systems to a previous snapshot. So that means if something goes catastrophically wrong, and it won't, but let's say your Riff agent goes rogue and it deletes some data or it does something it's not supposed to do, you can always securely go back in time and restore across your systems so that you can have trust in using your Riff agents. So let's go back to these agents and see how they operate. So the use case that I've had in mind for these agents are for people like me and the team at Blavity and AFROTECH, where we're a small team and people wear multiple hats, or you're a solopreneur and you have a small team and you have responsibilities that you're not an expert for. So for instance, I am not a CFO. I am not someone that understands the ins and outs of how to manage a P&L and make sure everything is balanced and checking on margin and all those things. I know enough to be dangerous, but doing that on a daily basis can be really, really tough. And that's something that a lot of entrepreneurs find themselves in. They're generating revenue, they have expenses, but making sure that they're optimizing their costs as well as doing everything to generate the most revenue as possible is something that either they don't do because they can't afford to hire an expert to do it, or they do it very, very poorly and they leave money on the table. Well, using a Riff agent, we can solve this. And so I have an example here. And you can see the goal that I gave to my agent. I simply told it that I want them to maintain a net profit margin of 80%. Okay? I want them to send me a weekly update in Slack, and I want them to update what we call the cash model. The cash model is a document that is a projection of how much cash the business is going to have and give me alerts in real time. So right here, this prompt is really powerful. Think about if you were to try to do this yourself. Think about all the different tools and systems you would need to have expertise in. Think about if you were going to try to build an AI agent to do this. While the agents of today can do some of this work, if their workflows break or they get stuck, then you have to go in and repair it. But with the Riff agent, I simply give it this goal and it figures out what to do. It tells me the data sources it's going to look at and how it's going to work. And I can follow up and tell it, additional constraints, when to send me summaries, what things that I care about, and it updates itself in real time. And once my agent is built, this is the anatomy of an agent. So there are a couple of key pieces of information that a Riff agent is going to give you that you have ready access to at any point in time. The first is the plan. The agent's plan is generated when it's first created, and every time it runs, it updates its plan. It learns from its mistakes, it learns from any errors it encounters, and it learns from its successes, and it continuously updates its plan. You can see a summary of the plan, but you can also see the actual code that it's using to execute that plan. And this is important. This is how we prevent hallucinations. By ensuring that agents come up with a well-defined plan that is written in a special domain language for automations, we ensure that the agents do not hallucinate or go rogue. If you're a visual learner, you can sort of see this and drag and drop it if you're used to that sort of workflow. But if you're not, then you can use the code, you can see the code, and you can also go in and edit the code if you're technical, if you see something that you want to just get into the code and tweak. In addition to the plan, you can see the agent's activity. So you can see everything that the agent did, any successes that it had, any issues that it ran into, any errors. There were some errors here earlier, but I guess we moved past that. So you can see everything that the agent is doing. You can see a full log of its activity. You can also see what the agent is learning, and you can edit those things as well. So as the agent operates, it develops something called memory. Memory is what the agent uses to ensure that on subsequent runs, it is more informed and has more context. Every time the agent runs, it learns and it adds that to its memory. You can also explicitly add things to the memory as well. You also have artifacts that are generated. These artifacts are sort of documents or things that the agent creates. So every time it runs, it creates something, it writes an email or it creates a document. Those artifacts are what the agent creates. And you can see here, this is an artifact that the agent created. This is a cache model that the agent created. And so I can see that and see a history of that. So again, I have my timeline slider here. So I can always go back in time and see what the agent was doing at a particular snapshot, or I can revert to a previous state if the agent ever makes a mistake. And then you can monitor the agent live. And so what I want to do is show that if I'm in Stripe and let's say that I issue someone a refund, okay? Going to refund the payment, and what this is going to do is it's going to tell my agent to act because my agent is looking at all of my financial data. So whenever there is something that happens, my agent is kicked into action. What it actually does is it notices that my data has changed. There was a change in Stripe. I refunded the customer. That has implications on my margin. It needs to check my expenses. It needs to check everything and see if it needs to adjust spend elsewhere. So you can see the agent is actually in Stripe. It's not showing the actual UI, but it's telling you what it's doing in Stripe to complete its plan. In its plan, it's going to continuously monitor my profit margin, and it's going to adjust spend. So I have it going into Facebook and Google ads to adjust spend. If I'm less than 80% margin, or if I'm above, it can actually increase ad spend. So you can see with a Riff agent, I am able to do something really, really cool. I don't have a degree in finance. I'm not a CFO. This is really important stuff for a business, and I can't afford to hire someone to do it. But with Riff, all I have to do is give it my goal. Just tell it, hey, maintain a profit margin of 80%. And Riff figures out what to do, and it does it in the background. So I don't have to constantly prompt it and tell it what to do. I have real-time visibility into what it's doing, and I can also monitor it live and see it in real time. So that's Riff, and I'm really excited about this. If you are interested in Riff, drop a 1 in the chat and let me know so I can add you to the wait list. We will be releasing Riff in beta for those who are on the wait list in January. So at the beginning of next year, you'll be able to get access to Riff if you're on the wait list to use it to build your own AI agents. So I'm going to check the chat now and see how we're looking. All right. Hopefully that was informative for everybody. I see some ones in the chat. I see some questions there. Question about what does this solve? Again, this is trying to solve a problem for small teams, solopreneurs, people who want to be able to have essentially a high-level employee, a chief of staff, a CFO that they can't afford to hire, and they don't know, they can't afford to sit at a computer and give AI prompts all day, but they want to give it goals and they want to trust the AI to work for them in the background. So I'm really, really excited about this, and I'm glad that you all are as well. And that's not all the exciting stuff that we have cooked up. So we have some special guests, and I'm excited to bring them to the stage. And I want to go ahead and bring up my slides again, just so you can see who they are. But this particular presentation from Cursor is something I'm really excited about. One, I am a user of Cursor every day. So building Riff, I use Cursor. Cursor is my go-to IDE. And Cursor is really cool because they have done a great job of building a product that can be used by both non-technical people and technical people. So I've tried some of the other vibe coding apps and they don't give me enough control or customization, but Cursor lets me go in and it actually eases my workflow, but it gives me control to go in and decide exactly how I want things done. And so we have Tony and Joel from Cursor who are going to tell us about some of the cool stuff that they built and how they're bridging the gap between no code tools and full software development. Tony is a founding account executive at Cursor. He drives AI implementation at large enterprises. And Joel is a founding field engineer. He helps implement and grow Cursor at key enterprise customers. So they are working directly with some of the biggest clients and making sure that they're getting the most value out of Cursor. So Tony and Joel, I'm going to turn it over to you all. I'm excited to hear what you all got to say.
Thank you so much, Jeff. We're excited to be here and to help share a little bit of what Cursor's doing with the Blavity AFROTECH audience. Hello, everyone. As Jeff mentioned, my name is Tony Sidham. I'm part of the go-to-market team here at Cursor, joined by my colleague Joel on our field engineering team. We have a short little presentation of what Cursor is, and then actually walking you through how people are using Cursor today. Joel, anything you'd like to say before we get started?
Hey everyone, I'm Joel. As the team mentioned, I'm part of the field engineering team here. And really, my job is to just kind of help folks understand Cursor's features as well as best practices. And I definitely love learning from our power users how they're kind of innovating with Cursor as well as just AI in their workflows.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that, Joel. So we have a quick presentation as the topic is from ideas to code, how anyone can be a builder with Cursor. You know, Cursor is being used by all sorts of organizations, from people who are building startup on their own to large enterprises, from your Ubers, NVIDIAs, Adobes of the world. What we want to share is a little bit of what Cursor is, followed by, again, that presentation. So about Cursor, we are an applied research lab working on automating coding. What we have done is we're trying to combine the intersection of being a frontier lab, building our own models, while also connecting that to building excellent software products. What this means is that teams are able to build quality products faster than ever before. Really, one of the things that makes Cursor special is that we have great exposure across the software lifecycle. There are a lot of different steps that go into building a product, from how do you plan it, to designing it, to actually writing the code. Cursor helps with all sorts of steps of that process, all in one single system. And Joel's going to be sharing that in just a couple minutes. That really makes it much easier for anyone to become a builder. If you are someone who doesn't have a professional coding background, but you might know how to design products or you have an idea in mind, Cursor really helps walk you through that step process. But also, if you are a professional developer, Cursor works really well in building upon the skill set that you already have today. And the reason for that is that Cursor works, well, what I like to call the Cursor magic is for a few different things. The first is when it comes to context. So anyone who is on this presentation, that webinar that is familiar with AI and context is, what does the model understand? What does the model get when it comes to any prompt you provide? With Cursor, we do a unique way of code-based indexing in order to deliver much better results that understands what you should have told the model to do rather than maybe what you did tell the model to do. It's really about understanding that intent that makes it really special with us. The second is model neutrality for optionality. With Cursor, we have great relationships with all the model providers as well as our own in-house models, so you can have the right tool for the job. There is no one perfect model for 100% of situations, and so we want to make sure that you have that option to do and use what works best. And then the last part is that we have a team that is using Cursor day in and day out to build an excellent product, and there's a high emphasis on user ergonomics. What we want to be able to do is make it easy for people to use Cursor, regardless of what their background or their skill set is, so that you can use it across the entire development lifecycle in one integrated system. So whether you're using Cursor from your computer, from your phone, from Slack, from the web, there are all different options for that. And what this has really allowed us to do, and as Jeff mentioned, Joel and I, we work directly with large enterprises and how they build software. The majority of the Fortune 1000 is actually using Cursor today. About 93% of engineers, when they get access to Cursor versus another tool, they select Cursor. And this is just something that we're really excited by, because what we have found from working here is that Cursor is really helping shape how software is being built today and how it will continue to be built in the future. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Joel.
Thank you. So here you can see on my screen, this is going to be the Cursor interface. So we actually launched Cursor 2.0 recently, the last 2 weeks, and this has been our largest launch since. And with that, we've really started to think about how do you redesign the interface in which developers code. And so now we have what we call the agents view, which really gives you this kind of chat window that is your entrance into using Cursor. And so just to kind of level set on what we're looking at here. Right now, I have this finance dashboard, and it's built in Python and TypeScript. So I have all of that code in Cursor. And what I want to do is, as the title suggests, I want to go from the idea, which is I want to add a price chart to this application and see how we can do that and implement that using Cursor. So the first thing is we can use Cursor to extract information that we have saved in other parts of our business. For example, many developers use things such as Atlassian's Jira or even maybe Linear to hold their ticket information. And so with Cursor, we've allowed MCP protocol, which allows you to kind of interact with these external parties, whether that be Figma for design or Linear or Atlassian for your Jira tickets. And so in Cursor, the first thing I might say is let me confirm that my MCP is on. And then I can say something like this. What Linear tickets do I have open? So now Cursor is going to be able to run my MCP to fetch the data from my Linear. Make sure that's on there. And then if I want, I can also kind of just copy it directly. So if I do that, I can start to say something like this. Help me create a plan to implement, and then I can give it this information of my ticket. And as Jeff mentioned in his previous presentation, planning is actually extremely helpful for these agents. And so Cursor allows us to use something called plan mode. So I'm going to switch into plan mode, and I'm going to run that. As this is running, some things I want to kind of point out to you. One is you see that I'm using Composer 1. As part of our 2.0 launch, we actually created our own state-of-the-art coding agent. And one of the benefits of this agent is that it is extremely fast, right? And so kind of relative to all of the other models you can use, whether that be the Claude models or the new Gemini model or even GPT, we kind of allowed you to also use Cursor's Composer 1 model. So the first thing the model does is it is automatically trying to understand what additional information do I need to know about the user's code base to actually help them create a plan for this task? And so if I go here, I can pull my code file. You can see that I have my backend code and my frontend code. And so Cursor is reading different files across my library to understand what does it need to help me build this plan. And I can also at any point in time, sorry, let me just make sure. Let's turn this off really quickly. Let's run that again. At any point in time, I can see what the model is thinking. Hold on. Sorry about that technical difficulty. There we go. Perfect. All right. Any point in time, I can kind of see how the model is thinking and acting. And then I can get this plan that's laid out for me. And so here, this plan is going to be a markdown file. And so at any point in time, I can kind of modify this as I want. And so here you see that it wants to do some work on the back end. It's going to do some work on the front end as well. And it's really telling me everything that it's planning to do. And I can go back and forth with the model. And so it says steer the plan or add more details. So I can tell the model to change this plan, maybe add more testing, right? Maybe add more complexity or reduce complexity. And then once I'm ready, I can actually tell the model to go ahead and build this. And so when I click build, it starts working on this plan from top to bottom, working through its checklist. And so here you can see it's starting to write code for me. And once again, I'm using the Composer 1 model, and so I'm getting a lot of this to go very quickly. So here the model is just writing code. At any point in time, developers can obviously inspect this code that's being written, right? We can see the code that's being added at any point in time, and we have this highlighting that lets engineers know like what's going on. But you kind of, if you don't want to, you also don't have to engage with this part of the code. You can kind of stay in this view. And so if I just hide that, I can stay focused here. Something Cursor does automatically is also it looks for errors. And so you can see it said it found 8 errors in its own code. So it's self-correcting as it works through. And now it is completed. And I can kind of try to verify that by going back to my dashboard. And here you can see that I have a price chart. Now, once I have this feature, it kind of gets interesting. What I can do is not only can I review my code, so I can say, click this review button. This allows me to kind of look at all the files in one place, right? If I want, I can say find issues. This starts an automatic code review. And so not only am I using AI to write code, but then I can kind of kick off review processes to make sure that code is meeting my code standards. And then something interesting is I can go here, and in 2.0, we've gave Cursor the ability to kind of see what you see on the web. And so if I say browser tab, that opens the browser for Cursor. And so now Cursor can interact with this browser the same way I would. And so I can say something like this. Visit this URL and help me improve the y-axis of my price chart, right? And so we'll see a few things here. First, Cursor navigates to the website, right? It can take screenshots and images to see what I'm seeing. It's also able to get the logs of this website. And so this could be very interesting for kind of full stack developers. And it's also very powerful for designers. And so designers can use something like a Figma MCP to allow Cursor to understand their designs, but then they can pull it up in the browser and have Cursor actually see what's happening here. And just to show you how it can interact with this page, I can say something like, click the 3 days time period to ensure it works. And so right now we're on 7 days, right? And we'll see that Cursor is able to first see where it is, and you saw how it's able to click 3 days. And then it can take a screenshot to confirm for itself that it looks like it's working fine. So that's some of the cool aspects of Cursor for full stack development. Something else that those who interact with the browser a lot would really enjoy is this ability to select the components with this selector. And so here I can actually choose the entire component and give that directly to Cursor, and it'll get all the metadata it needs to help me develop in this space. And so when we think about where we started, first I pulled in all of my information from Jira using MCPs. I use that to create a plan that then allowed Cursor to build this code autonomously, right? I can review and look at the code and be as engaged as I want. I can do automatic reviews, and then I can help it debug any final kind of quality standards in the IDE. So I still haven't left the IDE at all. So what's the next part? After you've done all of this, usually for engineering organizations, you're going to push that to something like GitHub where your code is stored. And at that point, you're going to want to have a review. And so Cursor also has something called BugBot. And so the way BugBot works is when you push your code to something like GitHub, BugBot will, and you see it says written by Cursor BugBot, it will write a description of everything you were able to do. And then once it's done doing that, you can go down and it will tell you, hey, did I find any bugs? Right? So you're automatically getting these bug reviews as well. And so that's helping us cover that full life cycle of kind of software development stack, going from idea, the ticket, to kind of doing a peer review inside of your source control management. And so even if you are not an engineer, we see that even PMs really like this feature because PMs are able to do things such as go from an idea, open Cursor, and tell Cursor, for example, let's close this, open up a new one. I can tell Cursor, create a mermaid diagram to help me understand how the back end and front end connect, right? So I can learn from Cursor as well, and I can go into ask mode, right? So here I'm using Cursor to help me proactively get onboarded into code bases. And so usually engineers are starting either from the ticket phase or actually just asking questions from Cursor to understand how the code actually looks. And here we see that Cursor is able to draw this complex diagram for me that I can kind of explore and zoom into to understand how does this whole application actually interact. And so this is just one type of chart, but I can get many such charts using Cursor. And then finally, the next piece I want to show you is going to be something else we launched recently, which is going to be allowing you to actually do a lot of this in parallel with multiple agents. So I can go back here to my new agent flow. Let's clear out all the changes we've made. And recently, Gemini 3 Pro just launched, right? And so many times, what you really want to do is explore the different models, like which model is going to perform good at particular tasks. And so what I can do here is I can go to, just go back, let's open Cursor here. Let me zoom in for you. All right, I can go to Cursor and I can say, use multiple models. I turn that on, and now I can choose the ones that I want to use. So for example, I can say, well, let's see how our Composer 1 model does, maybe the popular Claude 4.5, and also the Gemini Pro model, how they work on a particular task. And now I can grab that task from my Jira ticket. I can use MCPs to pull this in as well. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give all of these models I selected this task to run in parallel. So I press enter. And now we actually have all three models running in parallel with their own copies of the code base. So they're not kind of stepping over each other. And so this can be used in many ways. One way I like to use it is just to understand when might I want to use one model over the other. And so you can see, for example, we can see the speed of the Composer model. It's already starting to work through its tasks, whereas the other models are still just in the first phase of thinking about what to do. Gemini model is being a little bit more thoughtful here and it hasn't even started writing any code, whereas the Composer model is kind of halfway done with the entire implementation. So this is a cool way of using multiple models to explore the features of the models or even test for things such as bugs or other issues. If anyone has any particular question, feel free to shoot it in the chat and I'll make sure to take a peek over and answer anything pressing live here. And so now that I have all of this code running, right, I can go back to my dashboard and you can see that I have no changes here. But if I go to apply all, I can apply these changes from this model alone, right? I can get my little price chart section here. And if I want, and I go back to unapply, you see that it's gone. And now I can wait for these other models to complete, and I can also test their changes. And so that really gives you that isolation to play around with that. And so one of the other aspects of our multi-agent system is making it easy to manage all of this, right? As you can imagine, one of the core things we're realizing as AI is helping you write more code, it also means that teams have more to review. And so by just kind of opening this sidebar over here, I can kind of see all of my recent chats. I can see which ones are running and which ones are older, and I can kind of toggle through them, right? Allowing me to focus on whichever agent I want to at a given time. And here we can see that the Claude model is finishing up. So once this is done, we can click apply and see how that one did as well. And Claude did a pretty great job here with its chart. So going back and trying to take a step backwards of what we're trying to kind of achieve here at Cursor. So I showed you how me as a single developer can kind of implement a lot of these features. But another very important aspect is how do organizations allow fleets of teams, right, across the organization to get the best use out of Cursor. And so for that, we have a lot of like enterprise controls that gives you control over things such as what we call rules. And so if I go to this section, I can go to my .cursor folder. Actually, let me pull it up here to give you a better look. I can go to my .cursor folder and I can have things such as rules. And in these rules, I can provide Cursor with instructions that I want everyone to kind of have, such as system design best practices. And so these rules can be applied to impact how Cursor is going to respond to my questions. For example, I can create a new rule, how to talk .mdc, and I can tell Cursor, talk to me like a pirate, right? And then when I say, I set it as always apply, and so then if I say hi, Cursor's going to tell me back, ahoy there, matey. And so you have a lot of fine-grained control over getting Cursor to interact with you the way you want. And as admins, you can then set these instructions across the organization to allow all of your teams to kind of share best practices with each other and kind of get the most out of the system. And so I think for me, that's going to be the kind of core experience I wanted to show you. I want to make sure I give some time to Tony to talk about Cursor. I think he might have a QR code or something he wants to share as well. So I'll turn it back over to you, Tony.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Joel. So what Joel just showed is how many people today are using Cursor when it comes to building, updating, and maintaining the products that they're responsible for. What we really want to be able to show you is just a bit of a glimpse into this workflow where if you have an idea and you use that planning mode, you can then, without having to have as much of that architectural background of how to design software, Cursor will help you along the way. But when you're putting in the hands of someone like Joel, there is so much more that you can do. What we want to be able to share was a few resources that will also be shared with attendees after. But if you are interested in testing out Cursor yourself, you can just go to cursor.com/downloads, and I will go and put that in the chat in just a moment.
And we also, while you do that, Tony, there's a question in the chat about, how is Cursor like well suited for teams that need to manage sensitive data? And so absolutely, in Cursor, we take that kind of privacy very important. And we have something called privacy mode. For enterprises, it's kind of default. And the idea is that Cursor will not kind of store any of your code. It won't train on any of your code. And we also have provisions with all of the model providers so that they don't do that either. And so you can kind of interact safely even with sensitive data.
Yeah, so as Joel mentioned, we take privacy incredibly seriously. So we have zero data retention with all of our sub-processors. So any of the data that you put into Cursor will not be stored or trained on by any of them. And when it comes to Cursor, we do not train on your data unless you explicitly opt into that, which is not the case for any enterprise customer that we work with. Joel, is also a question about, are there any containerized environments?
Yeah, absolutely. Cursor has something called cloud agents, which actually allows you to run Cursor in the cloud in isolated containerized environments. This is very cool because there's a Slack integration. And so, for example, PMs, or I've even seen CEOs kind of ask questions to Cursor from Slack to kind of be able to get tasks done on their own. And Keaton asked about troubleshooting. And so Cursor's bug bot for finding bugs after you've pushed merges is really great. You can also tell Cursor directly in the chat, hey, help me write unit tests, help me troubleshoot any of the issues that I'm having.
One of the exciting things that we are seeing are those containerized environments in the form of cloud agents. So a lot of companies are either setting them up to integrate with Slack or other tools like Linear. They're also looking at how they can connect it to the API of Cursor itself. So if you have any automated workflows that you'd like to have an agent handle the first time. So for example, maybe some type of alert is shared of an outage or some type of bug before a developer can even get their laptop open, having the agent be able to take a look at it, start evaluating, diagnosing the situation, and giving you an action plan.
So the conversation is live on our AfroTech Connect app. They are loving Cursor. We got you got a Joel. You got a thanks for that answer. Some appreciation there. We have another question. Which is your favorite model to use in Cursor and why?
Yeah, my favorite model, and you may think I'm being biased here, but it definitely is Cursor's new Composer 1 model. For me, I've always thought that when interacting with agents, it's actually not the intelligence of the model that matters, because at the end of the day, the model is borrowing my intelligence. What it's really doing for me is it's an extension of my typing speed, right? And so having a model that's very quick allows me to use my learnings and have the model execute all the different thoughts I have at a quicker pace. And so the Composer 1 model has really struck that balance for me. So I think that's a very good one.
Yeah, just adding to what Joel mentioned, one thing that we've actually been building ourselves is a learning management system for the purpose of understanding how to code with AI. I'm dropping a link to that in the chat right now. It's called cursor.com/learn. I'm specifically putting the link for how AI models work, where you get to hear from our head of developer relations, Lee Robinson, on, what are these different models? And what we actually find is that for many developers, they want to find a model that is a combination of fast, smart, and cheap. And that's kind of what we're trying to really figure out ourselves. There are a lot of models out there that are incredibly powerful, but for most developers, it's actually not necessary to get that extra little bit of juice, except for some very specific use cases. And so we think about is the biggest advantage for people is how quickly they can move and be able to iterate on that feedback that they're getting. So we want to build a model that is still incredibly smart, but is focusing on how do we help you get an answer that much faster. Gone are the days when you go and submit a prompt and you have to wait for your coffee before it's even ready to come back and start responding to it. With the composer model, you're getting responses in like 5 to 10 seconds.
Amazing. Yeah, I can attest that composer model is great. And I like what you all said earlier. I love using Cursor to write my unit tests and my documentation for me. I think it's a huge time saver, but it also, I think many developers will attest is one of those things that is a necessary, I won't say evil, but it's a necessary thing. But it's the thing that we skimp out on oftentimes. So having a great model that can do it really, really quickly and help you iterate fast on your ideas is super cool. So definitely want to endorse that as well. Any final thoughts you all want to leave us with?
I think just, the one thing to remember is that using Cursor, like using any type of AI product, is a skill that for many people it might be a little bit intimidating at first. My first time using AI, I default using ChatGPT to help me plan like a trip to visiting, some family in Egypt, and I just want to figure out like how should I spend each day as part of that trip. It's very different to how I might be using AI models in Cursor today. So I would say like if it does feel a little bit overwhelming at first, that's very normal. There's a lot of videos online. There's a lot of great resources out there on how to just get started. Really though, the best way is to just open it up and try it for yourself. And if you do ever get stuck, a really good response is just ask Cursor, here's how I'm stuck. What can I do next? And it will tell you.
That's a great point. We have one more question in the chat from William, who was loving the presentation and is asking, can Cursor assist in diagnosing performance bottlenecks in systems like Snowflake? So can Cursor solve our dreaded performance issues?
Yeah, I would say a great question. And the way to think about it is as long as you can give Cursor the tools necessary to help you get the information you need, i.e., scripts that can tell you if something's being performed or not, or maybe SQL tables that allow it to see if things need indexing, then Cursor can definitely help you figure out ways to tune that and even test that the performance increase actually has occurred. And we've seen many teams do similar analyses in various organizations.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Joel and Tony. This was amazing. I was already a big fan of Cursor, but you all showed me some new things, and I'm excited. I promise you, immediately after we're done with AI Edge, I'm going to go in Cursor and start coding. So drop a one in the Afrotech Connect chat if you have just been inspired to build your next million, maybe $1 billion idea with Cursor. This was really, really exciting. So this is cool. And this is what AI Edge is all about. And we are going to keep things going. So I'm excited about this next conversation as well. One of the things that I do every morning when I wake up and I start my day, pretty early, I go to blabbity.com and I listen to the Blabbity Daily Brief. And the Blabbity Daily Brief is a new product that we've put out. And it is a voice on demand podcast that summarizes the top news of the previous day and just make sure that I am informed to start a new day and I know what's going on and everything from culture to tech, everything that is relevant. The Blabbity Daily Brief lets me know that. And there is a very warm and inviting and informative voice that greets me every morning. And her name is Victoria. And our engineering team built Victoria, but we did it using 11 Labs. And we have Maddie here from 11 Labs to talk all about all the great things that 11 Labs is doing. Maddie has a great background. Maddie is a filmmaker for over 18 years, and Maddie leads the Chroma Awards with a mission to unite emerging technology and creative talent in productive dialogue. And Maddie is going to teach you about voice AI. So, Maddie, I'm going to turn it over to you and let us know what's good.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that wonderful intro, Jeff. Are you able to hear me all right?
Yes, we hear you just
Great.
fine. You're good.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for hosting me here at AfroTech. Um, for those who are unfamiliar with 11 Labs, we are our kind of claim to fame is voice AI. But as I'll tell you a little bit about today, it's really expanded into all these amazing areas from film, from media and entertainment to games to agentic, to even audiobooks, and we'll kind of dive into that. Is it okay if I share my screen here and I'll drop the
Yeah, please do.
presentation here in the chat for those who want to follow along. We'll have a couple links. I'm not going to play them for the full extent of it, but you can go to them and check them out at your own convenience. Great. So here is the slide deck. So our kind of tagline is the most realistic AI voice platform. Myself, I'm Maddie. I run the Chroma Awards initiative within the company. So it's my full-time job to essentially run this Olympics of AI film, music videos, and games. We just closed our submissions a couple days ago, but don't worry if there are filmmakers or creators in the audience because we're going to be doing this every year to be able to motivate the creative community to try out these tools and get accessibility to these new mediums. Um, so what is 11 Labs? So 11 Labs started in 2022. Were funded by A16Z and a bunch of other wonderful investors. Our two founders are Polish, and the idea really came to them as they were watching a lot of movies in Poland that just had really bad dubbing and bad voiceover. So it became their mission to try and solve this issue, and then it's been able to have these amazing gains. I think we were one of the first companies the quickest to reach 100 million ARR, and we're over 200 million right now. We've just done our Series C a couple months ago, and really trying to bring all of those different partnerships from the industry side, from the creator side to the community side, all together to make this, well, one hopefully generational company. So on the product side, we have different voice products where you can make voiceover, you can make text to speech. We were in the Disney Accelerator, and also we partner to do all of Time's AI audiobooks as well as the ones on Spotify. Even working with Hollywood legends such as Burt Reynolds, Judy Garland, James Dean, Sir Laurence Olivier, Deepak Chopra, Maya Angelou, where their estates or themselves are licensing their voice, where they're saying this is a fully sanctioned way to use their voice in certain use cases and being able to get paid and rewarded for being able to have people, read their audiobook or their spoken word poem, and being having that all be ethical and above board. And then just in terms of positioning, we are very commonly used, especially if you've seen some of the YouTube shorts with the AI voiceover, that's usually likely us. But as we'll show through some of the competition, there's some really high quality films and spec ads and music videos being made with 11 Labs too. Some recent headlines are that we just booked Matthew McConaughey and Michael Caine for our iconic voice marketplace. So that builds off that the Hollywood legends before, but being able to give these celebrities kind of to reclaim their voice over some of the virtual use cases. One of those was James Earl Jones. We partnered with his estate and Epic Games and Walt Disney to bring his voice to Fortnite, where you could talk with Darth Vader. And then for working with real voice actors, I know that's always, a point of concern. For this past year through Stripe, we distributed over $5 million. So say you're a voice actor and you want to license your voice and be able to find ways to reach it to individual consumers, you're able to make a voice clone of yourself. And we don't allow deepfakes at all. We have very strict policies around that. So, we don't allow likeness for people to copy other people's voices. But if it's your own voice and you go through these rigid verification processes, you can get paid anytime people use it. On that note, we also have our iconic voice program. So for those who are impacted by ALS, we have this great nonprofit program to give them essentially their voice back, help them clone a voice based on previous recordings of themselves and give them unlimited credits. For those developers in the audience, we also have our startup grants program. So if you apply, if you go on the website, I don't have the exact link here, you'll be able to apply for our startups grant and get 11 million credits to work on your app, your game, whatever the case may be, to have not just voice but also sound effects and music. Diving a little deeper into what I work on, it's called the Chroma Awards. So it's essentially our film, music, and video and video games competition where we're trying to bring together all of the major foundational models in the space, application layer companies, vibe coding platforms to be able to have this egalitarian playing field where it's not based on who how much money you have, where you went to film school, if you went to film school at all, or even what the algorithm, the views or the likes, as a lot of that can be manipulated. So everything is human reviewed. This past season of it ended 3 days ago, and we got over 6,000 submissions. So we're working through it. If you're interested, we're going to be sharing those at the end of December, some of our winners in all these different categories, because filmmaking is a color spectrum. Hence the name. It's not just black or white. It's this whole range of music videos and narrative pieces and experimental art, and we want to be able to spotlight the best talented people in all of those different aspects and be able to get them not just, a couple $1,000s cash, which is nice, but also real job opportunities. Have this be a pipeline for both distribution and content where it really addresses a lot of the concerns that people have with AI is that it's replacing jobs and it's creating AI slop. If we're able to show that we're making things that are best in class, we're giving people an opportunity, we're doing it ethically and showing, having full transparency about how AI is being used, we think that can be the switch for helping mainstream adoption and doing it in a positive way. So I'll show a little bit of um, our launch trailer for that here. So really, when it comes to any big image and video company that you've heard of, we tried to really bring them together where they're like countries, they want to show that they're sending their best talent, they're sending their free trials. So we gave away $1 million in free trials and we're giving away 175,000 in cash prizes, and looking forward to growing that year to year. And that's my full-time job. So I feel very lucky to be able to do that. Going over 11 Labs, we have a lot of features. If you go into the platform, it can be a little bit overwhelming. There's this bifurcation of half of it is more agentic, so that's chatbots, that's agents being able to hook up your web app to a variety of use cases. And then on the creative side of the platform, we have the more making images and videos, which just was released a couple days ago, this past Monday. Being able to take your voice, say you're a voice actor and you want to change your voice to a scary witch for your Halloween film, you're able to do that. You're able to design your own custom voice, remove background noises, make sound effects. The really it is amazing in terms of the variety of things that you can do, especially if you're a content creator and you mentioned Jeff mentioned the podcast, right? Being able to dub that in many different languages, not just having that voice, the voice that can, be your co-host or can, make the audio studio quality, but you can dub it in, I think, 30 different languages and be able to share that across the world, to many different audiences and expand your reach there. Going over a little bit of these features, I'll show you the image and video one, and then I'll go through these a little bit more quickly, just so we have some time for Q&A and also for the free trials. And I've also made a great Afrotech song just for this presentation, which we'll get into. So essentially, we are trying to be this one-stop shop, this universal currency for there are many different model companies, application layer companies, but being that universal currency or that umbrella for all of that to come together in one creative workflow where it's easy to, make your videos. And as George Lucas says, 50% of the experience is sound. It helps so much with the immersion, and bad sound can really have that fourth wall break when you're trying to tell your story. You can have your visuals be okay, but when it comes to sound, it really needs to be heightened to be able to elevate that experience. So, like I
So,
mentioned, you can. Oh
Matt,
yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
yeah, since you're using your headset, I don't think we were able to hear the audio.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
so I'm ready to hear it. I want to hear it. So
Oh, I
if you
guess
don't
you
mind,
couldn't hear it from this video either, but you have the link in the chat. You can check out the little ironic, but you can check out the chat there, or the videos here as well. We have a lot of great tutorials for wherever you are in your creative journey, whether you're a first time creator or you're a veteran. You've been doing this for years and years, and I think that both are welcome into the process where. Many of us have had to choose life paths where, we had to put some of these creative ideas on the back burner. And I think it's uh, a human thing to have these moments in our life where we say, that would make a great TV show. That would make a great movie. But how do we actually get from point A to point B? So what we're hoping to do is be able for those people who've not had that opportunity before, be able to help empower them. And then for those who have that creative language, have that vocabulary, being able to let them, be able to, they're going to be the ones best at using these tools because they know how to prompt, they know have taste and curation and then which I think is really what's most important. Um, so we might not be able to hear the song. Let me see if I can even link it here. Share public page. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna drop it in the Zoom chat. if I can find it. Maybe I'll have to stop the share after. But that's a little bit, that's the long and short of 11 Labs. Here's the song there. So we'll try to play that after, but you can check it out now. But we want to give everyone a free trial. So this is a 1 month to just our basic starter plan to try out the voice features, some of the music generation too. Probably you can make like 30 songs. So what you got to do is go to 11labs.io, make an account. After that, go to the QR code and it essentially will link this coupon to your account, but you have to go to this kind of upgrade starter monthly plan in order for it to be enabled. And you do have to check out with your credit card info. There's no way to bypass that, unfortunately, but you can automatically cancel. You can cancel right after you do it, so that there's no, charge, and you'll still have that access to your free trial throughout the entire month, even if you cancel. So just wanted to make sure you're very aware of that so there are no surprises. And we hope you enjoy it. Please send us your feedback. I would also recommend starting with voiceover generation or the music generation because in terms of the way some of the GPU inference cost is, those are much cheaper than things with the visual element. So I would start with the voiceover generation because the video things can add up pretty quickly. Great.
Yeah, thanks,
Um,
Maddie. Yeah,
Yeah, you're
that's
welcome. You're
awesome.
welcome. And let me see if I can try to play. I really want to play this song because it was
If
uh
I've got it loaded, if you want me to try, you want me to go
yeah,
ahead?
yeah. Oh, here I just didn't click the share.
All right,
Oh,
great. You
maybe
got
I
it.
didn't have I don't have the share sound. Maybe it's a moderator thing, but if you're able to try and play it, please.
Are you hearing it?
Oh yeah, I hear it.
Yeah, you know the vibe. AFROTECH is like. Yeah, you know the vibe. AFROTECH is like.
It's somewhat muted, but
From my screen, the energy's flowing. New ideas in my mind are growing. Connection strong, the future's showing. Yeah, we taking over, everybody knowing.
And so I
One
think,
link,
if you
one
go to
click,
the
now
link,
the world is watching.
you'll get the full experience of it. But I think that's a great example. And the prompt I used for that was, please make an Afrobeat reggaeton song in English with a female singer about the Afrotech virtual conference. So it was as simple as that. You can add your own lyrics. And one thing I want to note is that everything in this model is commercial safe. It's fully licensed data. We're not scraping Spotify. We're not scraping YouTube. We work with a record company and have obtained all the rights to use this music, so you can use it for any different use case. It's all completely ethical in terms of the training data set. And you can make all these cool genres. You can make instrumental tracks. You can make beats. You can make whatever kind of the limit of your imagination is. And then if you go to our website, you can find these different tips and tricks for prompting your songs.
Maddie, this is awesome. And they are loving this in the AfroTech Connect app. We've got a live chat going and they're loving this. We got a question. Someone is saying if they have, like say 7 different original content podcasts, do they need 7 different 11 Labs accounts or can they use one and just sort of use it for everything?
No, I mean they can use it for anything, but they're gonna need a lot of credits. So if you need to maybe that startup grant thing, I think that will start to apply to creative use cases too, and we're gonna be ramping up a creative partner program. But yeah, you can essentially just drop your audio in, and it'll redub it. Of course, you might want to proofread it and proof check it. But what's cool is you can clone your voice so it actually sounds like you who's speaking the other languages. It's not just some random other voice. So I've used that for, giving a presentation in to some Japanese clients where it still sounds like myself speaking Japanese, but it's, my voice.
That's amazing. And Maddie, as I'm sure you know, the broader Blavity and Afrotech community, there are so many creators in this community. And a lot of creators are nervous about AI because they think that AI is going to replace them. And you've sort of hinted at this, but I would love for you to speak to it explicitly. Can you just talk about why 11 Labs is so important? Because you all are building tools that aren't, this isn't meant to make creators obsolete. It's actually meant to allow creators to do more. So you can just speak to that a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that's, the difficult part, right? It's posited as us versus them. It's AI native creators who may not have had this opportunity otherwise, who are, it's versus traditional creators, right? They're trying to take opportunities away from each other. Only one can be there at the end of the day. I don't agree with that at all. I think that both are going to find their niche, and like I said before, the people who are going to be best at using these tools are the ones who have that past experience. Um, but there are so many gatekeepers. If I was a filmmaker myself, for independent filmmaker myself for 17 years. If I had to honestly talk to myself and say, would any of my ideas make it to streaming, make it to theatrical release? It's a pipe dream. It's very hard to get past these gatekeepers where you have to be half entrepreneur, half financier, before you can even get to the creative part. And this lets you greenlight yourself. That's a great quote from Dave Clark from Promise. He's a prominent AI filmmaker. But I think it just, even if it's not your full vision, right? Maybe it's 75% of what you wanted to make, but at least you got it out there instead of it just, gathering dust in your notes document. And so much of art and of filmmaking is the creative process itself rather than the end product, where, telling that story, being part of that, making of the thing, has that impact. And if it resonates with you, I'm sure it will resonate with other people. And what we're trying to push to is not just these rehashes or these things. Even for the competition, we have this manifesto where we're asking people to be original. Don't use likeness and deep fake other people. While you can do everything, that doesn't necessarily mean you should. So I think it's a great way to get your story out and be able to, maybe you might have to spend to make one of these top tier things. You might have to spend a couple $100s in credits. Yes. And that's expensive, right? That has some cost prohibition. But if you think about the traditional filmmaking process of, buying your DSLR camera, renting a location, flying to so and so place, craft services. I think that there are some give and take, right? And you have to be able to draw that moral and ethical and quality boundary for yourself. But the way I see it is it's a positive. It's giving people more opportunities. And so, we should be critical. We should be, understand how these tools are being made. But that doesn't mean we can't give it a chance.
That's amazing. We've got a question in the chat on Afro to Connect from Brandy, who's asking, can short form content be created in 11 Labs with captions and lip sync similar to how Captions AI or Hagen works?
Yes. That is as of the 17th. And
Of this
if
month?
the yeah, of
Wow.
like three or 4 days ago. So that's all of the image and video stuff. So you can add captions, yeah, any of that.
And I think that just speaks to the point of how quickly the AI landscape is changing. So many new features are being released all the time. It's amazing. Well, Maddie, this was great. Thank you so much for joining us. This was really informative. As I said, we at Blavy and Afrotech, we are heavy users of 11 Labs. We love it. Victoria has been such a great addition to our brand portfolio. So thank you so much. We appreciate it. And this has been a great AI Edge Summit. So we've got people we've got thousands of people who are watching live on afrotech.com. And we have people who are chatting. On our AfroTech Connect app, and they are just loving the content. And so I want to give another shout out to our presenting sponsor, Ford, for making this all possible. We are really grateful to Ford for making this possible for us to be here today. And I especially am glad that Ford is here because oftentimes in my world in software, AI seems obvious. It seems obvious how you can, if you sit at a computer all day, you can use your computer to make your life on a computer easier. It isn't necessarily obvious how, if you're in the physical world or building physical products, you can use AI to make things more efficient and do some really, really cool things. So we are fortunate that we have Ford not only making this possible, but we have Adrian Diaz from Ford, who is the Executive Director of Vehicle Systems Engineering and Testing, who is here to tell us more about the intersection of AI and vehicle engineering, and in particular, how AI is useful for building physical products. And so, Adrian, thank you so much for being here. Excited to have you. So I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you very much for the invite. Can you see me in the screen?
So your video is off now, but we hear you just fine.
Okay, let me try to start. Give me 1 second. Let me reboot this real quick. I'll be back in 10 seconds.
All right. And so while we're waiting on Adrian to come on, I do have a couple of housekeeping notes. So lots of questions in the chat about one, is this being recorded? The answer is yes. You will be able to replay this AI Edge. You'll be able to watch it back, all the insightful sessions that we've had so far from 11 Labs and Cursor, and even myself with Riff. If you're interested in that, you'll be able to replay AI Edge and get all of that content. Second question that we're getting is, will things like slides and resources be made available? And the answer is yes. You can go to the AFROTECH Connect app and get those things. And for those who are maybe watching live on afrotech.com and have questions about how you can enter the chat on AFROTECH Connect and participate, I'll just bring up those instructions again really, really quickly. Make sure you go to the App Store, download the AFROTECH Connect app. If you are in the AI Edge event, then you go ahead and at the top under event details, just scroll all the way over to the right, click on the communities tab, go ahead and click on that, and then click on the Q&A chat. And then you'll be dropped into the conversation where not only can you ask questions of our presenters, but you can also network. There are some amazing people. I see some data engineers in the chat, some business analysts. I see some founders. I see product people. I see lots of great people that you're going to want to network with. So make sure you are in AFROTECH Connect and being part of the conversation. And so, Adrian, we got your back. Are you ready? Ready to go?
Yeah, let's go. I think the camera is not willing to connect today.
Okay,
But,
no worries.
I think we can go with the audio. And let me share my screen.
Yes, perfect. We see it. Beautiful presentation.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone, or good morning. My name is Adrian Diaz, and I lead the Vehicle Systems Engineering and Testing here at Ford. Before we dive into the incredible world of modern automotive engineering, I want to pose a challenge to all the engineers in this room. So think about the cars of tomorrow: electric, autonomous, hyper-connected, essentially supercomputers on wheels. So my question to you is, how do we actually build those incredibly complex machines, ensuring every single component, every line of code, and every user experience works perfectly together, safely and sustainably? So what's the engineering discipline that makes that level of integration even possible? Just think about that for a moment. So now let's take a step back from cutting edge vehicles for a moment. And how many of you at some point have tried to build something simple? Maybe a do-it-yourself project, or even a childhood boxcar with your friends. So you might have a great individual components, perfectly round wheels, a strong wooden chassis, a cool steering mechanism. But then you put it all together and the wheels rub against the frame, the steering linkage hit the axle, or the rope snapped because it wasn't designed for the weight of the whole assembly. I think you can imagine that that's a very frustrating experience, where great individual parts don't work together as a functional whole. And that is exactly what happens when you don't account for the interactions within the system. So in a simple boxcar, it's a minor annoyance, but on a multi-ton high-speed vehicle with millions of lines of code and hundreds of safety-critical systems, it could be catastrophic. So that is why systems engineering is not just important, it's truly, in my opinion, the heart of transformation for complex products and therefore for automotive industry. It's the discipline that ensures every extreme of the vehicle, from the tiniest sensor to the largest structural component, communicates and collaborates flawlessly. And today, I want to explore with you how we tackle this complexity, innovate faster, and shape the future of mobility. So let's buckle up. I want to take you into 5 critical areas that will be critical to shape the entire automotive industry, in my view. First, let's explore why systems engineering is critical in this era of unprecedented disruption. Then we'll lift the hood on the cutting-edge digital twins and model-based systems engineering tool chain, and showing you how we're designing the future in a virtual world. Sustainability isn't just a buzzword, it's a core principle. So I want us to discuss sustainability-driven systems engineering. And of course, you can't talk about the future without talking about AI, which I think is the next accelerator. How artificial intelligence is supercharging every aspect of the vehicle development. And finally, let's wrap up with any Q&As that you may have. So I hope you're ready. So why systems engineering is so critical right now? Take a look at this landscape. We are in the midst of an automotive revolution, driven by forces like electrification, autonomous technology, and the rise of software-defined vehicles. We're moving towards a mobility as a service ecosystems and facing intense regulatory and cybersecurity pressures. Each of these areas alone is complex, but when you combine them, the traditional methods of vehicle development simply break. So put it in different words, complexity is reaching a point where traditional methods are breaking. So let's put this in perspective and let's put some numbers behind this. Think about a car from the 1970s. It was a marvel of mechanical engineering, but it was relatively straightforward. Today, a modern vehicle has around 30,000 individual parts. That's a staggering number, but it's not just the physical components. Consider the intelligence behind it. About 20 years ago, a typical car might have had around 1 million lines of software code. Let's fast forward to today. An average car contains over 100 million line codes. So just some even exceeding 150 million lines. That's more code than the Boeing 787 Dreamliner. Now, here's the critical insight. Even though we're delivering more features and capabilities in new vehicles, we cannot just keep adding parts and parts indefinitely. In fact, a core philosophy I like to embrace, and you probably have heard about this before, is that the best part is no part. This is where systems engineering at its maximum potentially truly shines. It helps us to develop more simplified and what I like to call elegant designs. We aim to deliver more features and a superior customer experience, and not by piling on components, but by intelligently integrating, optimizing, and often consolidating functions, resulting in fewer parts while achieving greater capability. So this is a jump in complexity coupled with our drive for elegant simplification, and it means that traditional engineering methods simply can't keep up. So we need a way to integrate mechanical, electrical, and software systems from the cloud to the car. And this isn't just about making cars better. It's about fundamentally rethinking how we design, build, and interact with transportation. I do believe systems engineering provides the framework, the mindset, and the tools to navigate this disruption and turn it into an opportunity. So what exactly is systems engineering? At its core, it's about managing complexity. It's an interdisciplinary approach that takes a holistic view of a product from the initial concept all the way through its operations and maintenance. Think of it like this V model diagram, which I'm pretty sure you might have seen in the past. We start with understanding stakeholder needs and defining the overall concept. From there, we progressively break down the system into smaller, manageable pieces, defining requirements, architecture, and detailed designs. And then we climb back up to the V through integration, verification, and validation, ensuring that every piece works perfectly together and meets those initial needs. It's about transforming stakeholder needs into a solution that is supported throughout its life. It isn't a siloed activity, it's team sport, bringing together diverse engineering disciplines to create something truly remarkable. And very important, it starts with understanding very clearly the needs and usage of the customers. Let me share a story with you. Many years ago, there was a few engineers that were getting some claims from customer, but there was one interesting claim from a customer that was indicating that when this customer went to buy an ice cream, if the ice cream was vanilla, he had no issues. But if the ice cream was chocolate, his car stopped working. So, interestingly, the engineers went and visited this customer, and they drove with him. And when they came back and they report to the chief engineer, is like, well, so what's the story? Well, so one day we bought vanilla ice cream and no issues. Next day we bought vanilla chocolate ice cream and the vehicle didn't work. So long story short, what was really happening, it had nothing to, after analyzing the composition of the ice cream, we realized that it was not the ice cream, but really it was just that the chocolate ice cream was on a different location of the store. We just took a little longer to get the ice cream and just time enough to trigger an issue in the carburetor. Back those days, the vehicles had a carburetor, but that basically is just one example of how important it is that we understand not only the customer needs but also customer usage, and that's the starting point of systems engineering. So to really grasp the scope, let's look at where systems engineering occurs. It's not just at one level. It's practiced at all levels of system decomposition. So imagine a Ford F-150. That's our level 0, the complete vehicle. But underneath that, we have major subsystems like the powertrain or the driveline. And then we can go deeper and you find the engine, the fuel system, the steering, and even further down to individual components like a steering wheel angle sensor. Systems engineers are the architects who understand how all these layers interact, and they ensure that a change in one component, say a new sensor, doesn't inadvertently affect the performance or safety of the entire vehicle. It's about seeing the forest and the trees and understanding their intricate connections. So I remember a neighbor several years ago telling me a story of a vehicle with the brand back then was the brand new technology we have in foldable electric mirrors. And one day he tried to close them manually and boom, the engine started. So clearly something in that design and the interfaces were not properly understood. It was not a Ford vehicle, by the way. So one of the most crucial aspects of systems engineering, especially in complex products like vehicles, is interface control. Every component, every subsystem, every piece of software needs to talk to other pieces. These conversations are interfaces. If you don't define and manage these interfaces effectively, you end up with systems that don't communicate, that don't integrate, and that ultimately fail. Our job as systems engineers is to precisely define these essential interfaces between system elements. We ensure that when element 1 needs to interact with element 2, the communication is clear, efficient, and robust. And this directly influences design decisions and is meticulously documented in requirements, preventing costly rework and ensuring seamless functionality across the entire vehicle. Now, let's talk about how we are revolutionizing the design and development process with cutting-edge tools. We're now talking about unifying engineering through digital twins and model-based systems engineering, or what we call MBSE. So imagine creating a perfect virtual replica of a physical asset. That's a digital twin. It mirrors the real-world data, allowing us to simulate, predict, optimize, and update vehicles, and even the entire manufacturing process, all before we even bend metal. On the other side, we have model-based systems engineering that uses models as the single source of truth, employing standardized language like SysML. So this gives us critical end-to-end traceability from initial needs all the way to verification and validation, fostering real-time global collaboration. This magic happens when we connect these two through an integrated tool chain, giving us an unified and holistic view of the entire system. And the good news is that with the way technology has evolved or revolved, these tool chains are entirely digital. But let me explain you why this is so incredibly important, especially for you that are willing to engage in the development of future products. One of the critical elements when designing a vehicle is what we call failure mode avoidance, which, among other things, allows to analyze the product to prevent potential failures and allows you to understand all the potential interactions and interfaces of every component and system. So for a complex system like a modern vehicle, the failure mode avoidance documentation alone could span thousands of pages. In fact, you try to print it. One time I print one of our failure mode avoidance documentations of just one system. It was more than 1,000 pages. So now imagine you have your 1,000 pages scenario, and you are and it represents the next hybrid power unit. And your chief engineer walks up and asks, "Hey, what would be the implications if we change the coding of an M6 bolt in the engine?" So in a traditional document-based world, you would have go through the thousands of pages of FMA documentation, searching for every mention of that bolt, its coding, and every system it interacts with. This could easily be weeks of work just to provide an answer, let alone understand the full impact and what it would take to implement the change. So at the speed our product development process is moving, that's simply too much time. Now multiply that by the hundreds of similar questions you could get during the development of a product. So imagine instead that all this critical failure mode avoidance data, all these interactions, all these interfaces are completely digitalized and connected within our MBSE toolchain and digital twin. You could input that question and within seconds get a comprehensive answer, confident that you haven't missed any critical interactions or potential future failure modes. Wouldn't that be absolutely game-changing? This means faster innovation, fewer errors, and ultimately better products for our customers. Beyond performance and innovation, we have a profound responsibility to the planet and society. This brings us to sustainability-driven systems engineering. Sustainability isn't an afterthought. It's integrated from the very beginning. And why does it matter? Because global net zero mandates the push for a circular economy and customer demand for environmentally responsible products. So systems engineering would translate these high-level needs, where they come from government regulations, societal expectations, or customer preferences, into measurable goals. We might set targets for CO2 emissions or recyclability, and then bind these goals directly into our model-based systems engineering models as traceable requirements. We link them to the life cycle analysis and cost model to understand real-time impact. And this allows to auto-trace compliance evidence, generating reports for tests and audits. So it means we're not just building great vehicles, we're building a sustainable future, leveraging materials like soy-based foam or designing for battery recycling. This is where engineering meets impact. And all these can be enabled by a strong discipline to systems engineering. So as we look to the future, there's one technology that stands out as the ultimate accelerator for every aspect of engineering, and that's artificial intelligence. AI isn't just a new word for us, it's a powerful pilot, a brilliant assistant, and a revolutionary tool that, in my view, is transforming how we innovate. It's paving the road ahead, making processes faster, smarter, and more efficient than ever before. So get ready to see how AI is not only impacting what we do today, but also opening up entirely new frontiers for what's possible in automotive engineering. Let's get a little more specific about how AI is impacting systems engineering today. Today, we have proven accelerators. AI is automating the conversion of natural language requirements into model-based systems engineering models, saving countless of hours. We're leveraging predictive quality and warranty analytics to catch issues before they even arise. AI is generating autonomous test cases and mining vast amounts of data to create INCOSE compliant needs statements from diverse inputs, like customer feedback, which is super critical, and regulatory documents. It's even proposing new engineering requirements and generating baseline model-based systems engineering model. But that's just the beginning. I believe that the emerging possibilities are truly mind-blowing. Imagine agentic AI for complex design negotiations, generative design creating novel structures, which we are already utilizing, advanced reinforcement learning for design exploration, and AI-driven system optimization that pushes performance to new limits. If you want to be at the forefront of engineering, you may want to learn how to partner with AI. So thank you all for your attention today. I hope this glimpse into systems engineering and hopefully has sparked your curiosity and show you the incredible opportunities that exist here. We're at the forefront of a technological revolution, and we need bright, innovative minds like yours to help us shape the future of mobility. We're not just building cars, we're building a smarter, more sustainable, and more connected world. So now I would like to open it up for questions.
Adrian, this is amazing. Thank you so much. That they are loving this. I'm in particular, you talking about systems engineering is just so important because as we move to a world, whether people are using AI for some of the problems that you've talked about, or whether they're using AI to, do things that are creative or vibe code apps, the systems engineering mindset, I think, is so important. That's one of the things that is AI does more work for us. It's important to have that systems engineering mindset and make sure that we're infusing it in all of our workflows so that we have resiliency, we have redundancies, and we have robustness. So thank you for sharing that. We have a question in the chat, which is with Ford thinking about AI in some of the ways that you've mentioned, how is that changing hiring? How is it changing how you all are evaluating candidates and what you're looking for?
That's a very good question. I think one of the things that it's very important is to ensure that new candidates embrace understanding the new technologies, but new technologies utilizing new technologies doesn't come alone, right? You can't use a calculator effectively if you don't know how it works, what's behind it, how to act, right? And I think it's very important that, yes, candidates come with understanding of AI, but most important that candidates or engineers look to utilize first principles. And that's key. First principles, understanding the foundations of engineering, being flexible across different engineering settings, from chemistry, electrical, etc. Having those first principles, it's key to better maximize the utilization of AI. So engineers that have that profile clearly are engineers that we believe could be successful in this new environment.
And I know that there are many in the AfroTech community and all over who are looking for their next career opportunity. So that is great advice. If you're looking to work at a great company like Ford, thinking about just how you use AI as a tool, but you also have the rigor in your ability to problem solve and think through things makes you a competitive candidate. We have another question in the chat, which is asking, is Ford utilizing or considering the use of AI agents to capture institutional knowledge? For example, a chief engineer's tacit knowledge, so that that can be used to automate reasoning and decision making for future product development.
Yeah, clearly, trying to leverage our history of knowledge, more than 100 years, and having that documented in a way that could be then utilized by AI is something that we're definitely pursuing. As I was mentioning during the presentation, with tons of information, sometimes just trying to answer a simple question can take you weeks, can take you months. So imagine be able to use all that information, put it in a setting with an AI agent, and be able to answer a question in seconds. That's super powerful. And if we're able to take advantage of that, it's going to help us to expedite the speed at which we deliver products to our customers.
And then last question in the chat and the caveat, which I'm sure at Forge you all are using some proprietary tools that you can't talk too much about. But the question is, what are some of your favorite AI tools, either to use at work or on a personal basis, that you have found have been helpful and you would recommend?
Well, yeah, personally, I've used early ChatGPT. A tool that have recently started to use personally is called Thor, where it's actually a tool that can actually teach you. Where if I want to know more about engineering, I will type the request, and it could give you in a very summarized way the information, but then it can give you several links to better understand the phenomena. So if you try to dig a little bit on a noise and vibration issue, then you can click and you can type the question, and then you can dig a little bit more about the phenomena. And is it a high frequency? Is it a low frequency? And then you can dig into learning more about, okay, what typically generates a high frequency issue or a low frequency issue. So it gives you the opportunity to actually learn. And going back to the comment before about getting into first principle, it can actually help you to become stronger in first principles. Sometimes some of the concerns with AI is it going to make us dumber? But I believe that if we use it in the right way, it can actually make you smarter. So it's just making sure that how to use it.
That is such a perfect note to end on. If you use AI as a tool in the right way, it can actually make you smarter, and you've proven that. Adrian, thank you so much for sharing this with us. It was really, really helpful for me, and just by the chat on AfroTech Connect, it was really helpful to our audience. This has been just an amazing day, and we've had such great content. Again, want to thank you to Ford for being our presenting sponsor. Thank you to Cursor and 11 Labs for showing up and showing us some of their amazing tools. And hope you all are excited about building AI agents that work for you in the background using my new platform launching in January called Riff. But want to talk about what's next for the AFROTECH community. So if you've enjoyed these conversations in just this format, we do this a lot. We do this quite often. We have something called AFROTECH Insider, which is our membership program that allows you to access an entire calendar of programming that features sessions, webinars, office hours, and one-on-one sessions like this to help you level up not only in AI, but in your career and make sure that you expand your networking and you have everything you need to get to the next level. And so if you want to join Insider or you're curious, we have a special offer for you. For the next week, you can use this discount code here to get 15% off of your AFROTECH Insider membership. AFROTECH Insider is a great deal. Not only do you get access to programming like this, but you also get access to AFROTECH Conference. Type a 1 in the AFROTECH Connect chat if you attended AFROTECH Conference this year. AFROTECH Conference was amazing. We're already planning for next year. We'll be back in Houston November 2nd through the 6th. It's going to be a great time. And if you are interested in attending AFROTECH Conference, but you don't want to become an insider, we still have something for you. AFROTECH early bird tickets are on sale right now, so you can go and get those tickets at a discount. So we have two great offers for you. If you want to attend AFROTECH Conference and you're ready to buy, go ahead and scan that QR code on the left to get your AFROTECH Conference early bird tickets. And if you are interested in being an insider, which includes your AFROTECH Conference ticket, and you also want access to additional programming like this, make sure you scan that QR code on the right to get your AFROTECH Insider membership at a 15% discount. I want to thank you all so much for being here with us today. This has been an amazing session. The chat has been lively. The sessions have been great. We'll be sure to be in touch with resources, but you can always find them in the AFROTECH Connect app. So thank you all so much for being here, and we'll catch you next time. Peace out.